Hello guys, it's me Kyoraku, and in this video I would like to talk about one of the important events that probably we're gonna see in the third part of Bleach Anime. I want to talk about one of the most wonderful stories that Kubo told in the final arc, the story behind Kyoraku's Haori. Of course, I like the story in its dramatic side that is related to Kyoraku's character. As for the role of the Hakyoken sword in the Battle of Lilibaro, this is another topic. Therefore, I will focus on the flashback story that is found in the manga, as well as some of the information contained in the novel Can't Fear Your Own Word. So, first of all guys, it can be said that the flashback was worded by Kubo in a chaotic and brief manner. I don't know whether it was because Kubo was rushing through the events and therefore decided only to mention the important matters in that flashback, or whether he decided to make the flashback in an organized manner with few scenes in order to make the reader reread the events of the flashback and deduce what happened. And frankly, this flashback needs to be read more than once because it contains many things that we can discuss, including the secret treasures of the Seirechi, such as the sword of the AC family, as well as the hidden conflict between the noble families. Therefore, let us begin by talking about the Kyoraku's family. The Kyoraku's family is considered one of the noble families with high status in the Soul Society, but it remains under the five great families: Kuchiki, Shohin, Shiba, Tsunayashiro, and the other unknown family. And unlike the rest of the souls who live outside the Rekongai, the majority of these noble families are considered pure souls because they were born inside the Soul Society, exactly the Seirechi. And the souls that live in the Rekongai, most of them come from the real world after their death, while the souls belonging to the noble families marry each other and gave birth to children, and thus their descendants continue. And the Kyoraku family is an example of this, so that Shunsui had an older brother who married a woman from the Ise family, who is Anao's mother. Of course, we don't know the exact status of this family within the nobility, but it's clear that they are in a special position and can be said to be close to Kyoraku's family, given that they possessed one of the Seirechi's treasures. On the other hand, the distinction of this family was also that it was a family of priests, so that we read in chapter 651, they have a long history of being a family of priests. In addition to that, they do not possess a zanpakuto, but only a secret sword without an edge used in their monastic ritual. But the mystery that exists in this family is the nature of the ability of the Hakyoken sword, because if we consider that this family revere Ryu since he is the holy figure known in the Soul Society, however, the sword that the family used in its rituals had the ability to work against Ryu. So here the question arises: on what basis does this clan possess a sword that is considered a weapon against Ryu? What I personally believe is that some of the secret treasures are a secret weapon in the hands of the noble families that can be used against Ryu in case he poses a threat to them, because we mustn't forget that Ryu's seal and everything that happened to him was out of fear of his power. But regardless of what the intention of the Ise family from doing those rituals and also having a sword that has such power, it seems that the power of the sword was not for free, and it has a heavy price, and this price is represented by the curse that befell the women of Ise, such that everyone who married into this family died after a certain period of marriage. So that, in other words, Ise women were marrying men and living with them in the Ise house, but after a certain period the men died. And Anao's mother, at first, she didn't know that the reason of this was the sword. That's why she thought of marrying someone and living with him in his house, and thus she can end the curse. And as a result, she married Shunsui's brother and lived with him outside the Ise family. And she believed that by this way she would stay away from the family and the curse associated with it. And on the other hand, at that time, Shunsui was still a boy, while his brother was a Shinigami. We don't know which squad he belonged to, but in this scene, he appears wearing a Shihakusho outfit. From what was mentioned about the Kyoraku family, it's a family with an ancient and long tradition in martial arts. Therefore, this is information that shows that many noble families within the Seirechi have a legacy or distinction of their own. For example, in the novel Spirits Are Forever With You, it is mentioned that Adachiro Soya, his family was known in the art of the sword and Kido, and the Ise family is known to be the family of priests, and they have the Hakyoken sword. And this is without talking about the 5 major families that have their own secrets. So returning to Shunsui and his brother, their relationship was not good. Kyoraku didn't mention the reason, but I can say it was perhaps due to Shunsui's nature. Since childhood, Shunsui didn't have that ambitious personality, but rather was a person who was characterized by laziness, while his brother was a Shinigami and fought the hollows. Therefore, this may be among the differences between them. However, the marriage of Shunsui's brother to Nanao's mother changed this tense relationship between them. As I said in previous video about Kyoraku, Nanao's mother had a calm personality and her features made the atmosphere of the house calm, and I think this is what brought the relationship between Shunsui and his brother closer and removed the distance that existed between them. And among the beautiful scenes that Kubo made in that flashback is the story of the pins. The 2 pins that Kyoraku owned, we learned that they originally belonged to Nanao's mother, so she gave the second pin to her husband, while she kept the second one. And the poor woman, she thought that she had moved away from her family's home and thus from the easy curse. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Not long after, her husband fell bedridden. In this scene, we see how Shunsui, the boy, watches his brother on his deathbed, and he gives him the pin that his wife gave him. The pin that Shunsui's brother gave him carried great symbolism, meaning that he should take care of his wife after his death and also their daughter. Therefore, Nanao's mother knew that staying away from her family was not the solution, and that the curse had not ended. And what made the matters worse was not only that the matter was related to her, but also to the coming child, who is Nanao. So after Nanao's mother returned to her family home, it seems that she saw that the origin of this curse and these problems was found in that sacred sword that they possessed. Was Nanao's mother at that time the head of the family or not? We don't know, but it seems that in some way she was able to obtain the Zanpakuto and decided to keep it away from the family and her daughter by giving the sword or the Zanpakuto to Shunsui. So in this scene we see Shunsui as he has grown old and become a young man. At that time, Nanao was born, and we see her secretly listening to her mother's conversation with Shunsui. At first, she didn't know that this was her uncle, so little Nanao heard that her mother had entrusted that man with something precious that belonged to her, and it was a secret sword Hakyuken. And honestly, I don't know if Shunsui knew the extent of the risk he was going to take. But all we saw was Kyoraku telling Nanao's mother that the sword is a precious thing and he could not accept it easily, not knowing that hiding this weapon would have a major consequences later. So after the secret sword disappeared, Rome 46 began its investigations to look for the one who did it. And at that time, Kyoraku had become a Shinigami, so maybe at the time he hid it inside the second Zanpakuto or somewhere else, because we don't know at the time if Shunsui had formed his Zanpakuto or not. However, Rome 46 soon discovered that the one who lost the sword was Nanao's mother, and thus she was arrested and sentenced to death. And here we must stop for a moment because there is a new information regarding the subject in the novel Can't Fear Onward. So in the novel there are events that will bring Kyoraku together with Tokinada, and Tokinada will tell him that he has nothing to do with the issue of executing Nanao's mother, because Kyoraku doubted that Tokinada or the Tsuneyashiro's family were behind her execution, but Tokinada denied that he had anything to do with the matter, and that if he really was, he wouldn't have made the execution of Nanao's mother so easy. Rather, he would have made her death painful, and made Kyoraku the first witness to that. Tokinada also added an important piece of information, which is that he was confident that the sword was in Kyoraku's possession. I don't know how he came up with this, perhaps he was spying on Kyoraku while he was visiting Nanao's mother, but he thought it would be better to raise the possibility that Nanao, the daughter, is the one who owns the sword, thus putting Kyoraku in a very dangerous situation. But the intervention of Ginri Kuchiki, who was then the leader of the Kuchiki, made that proposal failed. Therefore, as you can see, the matter was not easy. In fact, there were hidden conflicts between the nobles, and hadn't been for Ginri's intervention, both Kyoraku and Nanao would have been in a serious trouble. On the other hand, we saw in the manga a scene where Ukitake informs Kyoraku of the execution, and Kyoraku at that time was just a Shinigami. And I think there are other scenes that Kubo must tell us. and I think they will be very sad. And they are the scenes in which Kyoraku takes Anao's mother Haori, as well as the second pain. And as we said, the first pain he took it from his brother, while the second pain that his wife had, no doubt Kyoraku had taken it with the Haori. As for Nanao, after her mother died, she was moved to live with a family consisting of an elderly couple. I don't know, frankly, who is responsible for this decision, but perhaps this may be Nanao's mother will. That her daughter be kept away from the Issei family, so that she can't be involved in the conflict. However, Issei's blood ran in Nanao's blood. She was unable to form her Zanpakuto even after obtaining an Osauchi, while her skill in Kido was good. So she was going to join the Kido squad. However, Kyoraku was apparently watching her from afar, so that he intervened and made Nanao join his division. And it seems that Kyoraku, for a long time, was trying to hide his true identity from Nanao, so that when he first met the new officers, he wasn't wearing the Haori of Nanao's mother, and also removed the 2 pins. But what Shunsui did made Nanao confirm that this person was the one her mother met, and she gave him that precious thing. And finally, Nanao wasn't like her mother. Her mother was trying to run away from the curse. She tried all the possible way to keep it away, and she failed. Unlike Nanao, she accepted it and got the Zanpakuto of her family to defeat one of the strongest enemies in the story. So I really liked the dramatic side of the flashback, and I hope Kubo can write more scenes for it. What about you guys? Tell me your opinions about this flashback, and see you guys in my next video.